today on Hindsight Hurts, my sister is going to break down some walls, in which I'm so proud of her for doing so. September 8th was 8 months since the loss of her son, which obviously came with a lot of hurt, but also now encouragement for her family and others dealing with the hindsight of the loss of a loved one. This is a special hindsight moment for her, and we are glad to share this with you.
I want to make sure that I once again state that if you are feeling suicidal or having suicidal ideations, that you would call 988 and get the help that you need and not continue to suffer in silence, or even if you shared with someone and they don't know what to do or how to help, call 988. And if any of you listening out there know someone who has those thoughts, please give them this number, because I know that if my son had come to me and told me that he was considering suicide, I would not have known where to get help or resources or what to do. So I hope and pray that this number 988 will save someone's life. The reason we started this podcast, well, actually, there were probably several reasons. Well, one was to get our story out there and to share hindsights and feelings and emotions and everything that we're going through as a result of our son taking his own life, and to get our story out. And it is healing to be able to share the story. So part of the reason for the podcast was somewhat selfish, but it was also our prayer that as a result of sharing, we could help someone else who may have already gone through losing a loved one to suicide, to show them that anything that they're feeling or thinking or whatever is normal, and that grief isn't the same for everyone, and everyone doesn't go through it the same way, and everyone doesn't hit all emotions of grief either at all, or definitely not at the same time, or whatever. But that's the reason we started the podcast, because we want to help someone else. And I've been thinking a lot recently, kind of a hindsight, that when our son passed, for whatever reason, knee-jerk reaction was to not share that he had committed suicide. Um, I think now looking back, I realize I didn't think it was just a reaction. I didn't think it through. I didn't really have a particular reason. I think I shared in one of the podcasts before. I guess somewhere in my grief, I was thinking I was protecting him and his wife and his kids. But looking back now, I realize that that's not the case, that I just added to the stigma of suicide. Again, I'm not ashamed of what happened. I'm not embarrassed by what happened. Um, I just, I think I felt protective, because now that I look back, I don't know what I was thinking. There was no rational thought, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like, as part of me not sharing my name and my son's name, my husband's name, that I am continuing to support the stigma of suicide. And I don't want to do that. So today I'm going to share. My name is Rhonda. My husband's name is Mike. And our son's name is Adam. And it feels really good to share his name and to say it out loud. I know I'm a little emotional today, but it's been 8 months and one day today since he took his own life. And some days it's harder than others, which I know I've shared also before. And sometimes I think, wow, it's 8 months in, why do I still get so emotional? But again, I know in recent podcasts I've shared that we feel like this pain will never completely go away. He was a part of our life for 40 years, or almost 40 years. I just realized that that's about the dumbest thing I could say, that he was in our lives for almost 40 years. He's not just some random person that we knew for almost 40 years. He's our child, he's our son. And you just don't let go of that and forget about it and move on, that, without grief and without hurt and without pain. A a family in our church that lost their son just had their 20th year that he's been gone. And she was just telling me that it hit her, even though it's been 20 years, it still was hard. So that just goes to show that that wound never ever will heal and never ever will go away. But back to sharing our name and everything. I'm not going to share LJ's name or our oldest son's name, my daughter-in-law, or the grandkids' name without their permission. But when Adam's daughters did share, one daughter did say her name, and her name is Kylie. And talking to them over the last few months and things, I think everyone agreed that we should not have hidden the fact that he took his own life. And I think they all did that in or out of respect for Mike and me because it was our wishes that we not share it. But again, looking back now, I think, why did we do that? Um, and I don't want to be part of the stick of continuing to share the stigma of suicide. I'm thinking, if you have cancer or if you have diabetes or if you have any other kind of disease, you share it and you talk about it, and people know, and they know exactly how to pray for you and everything. And, with people not knowing that he took his life, they don't know and may not know how exactly to pray for us. We have lots of prayers, and I know people can pray, and I know God knows. God knows what happened. I know He knows our heart, and I know He knows their heart. But people would like to share and support and help, and by not sharing exactly what happened, I feel like again that I'm continuing to help with the stigma of suicide. We loved Adam very much. We still love him very much, and no matter what he or our older son or any of our grandkids or great grandkids could ever do would ever stop us from loving them or rejecting them or, turning away from them. So I feel like by not sharing our names and Adam's name that we are ashamed of him or hiding him or something like that. So again, I just wanted to share in this podcast our names, and it will definitely make it easier going forward to speak about Adam as opposed to my son this and my son that. And as a mother, it really hurts my heart to think of the deep despair that Adam must have been feeling in order to enable him to be able to take his own life. I can't imagine that despair since I've never been in that situation. I know that I can't relate to someone who is in that situation right now, but it does break my heart to know that there are people who have such deep despair that they feel like that's the only solution, the only answer. And again, as a mother, not knowing that my own child was going through that and having that deep despair is also a painful hindsight to look back on. I know now there's nothing I could have done. Um, I realized that if he had wanted us to know, he would have shared more and maybe even asked for help. But for whatever reason, he didn't, and he moved forward with what he did. And I know sometimes I say the word suicide, and sometimes I say he took his own life. And I know it probably sounds silly, but I actually hate the word suicide now. And I know it's just a word, but the the connotation to it and what it means and everything. I just hate all of that part of it. But again, by now revealing our names and everything, I feel like I'm uncovering some things. And one of the things is I have to realize that suicide is just a word, and it is a hard reality that it happens a lot out there. And I know this is kind of a short episode and maybe sounds like it's all over the place, but these are just some thoughts that have been creeping in and I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I just wanted to share that we're tired of trying to cover up and be part of the stigma of suicide. So again, before I close out or before LJ comes on and closes out completely, I just want to say again, please call 988. I know that I don't know your feelings. I know that I don't understand it, but I know the hurt and the devastation that is caused when someone takes their life to all the people that are left behind. But I also would like you, if you're having those thoughts, to get help and not make that choice and not take that path, and that there is another choice and that there is another option. And I would like people out there to know that. I know LJ always says to share your story. um, by email, etc. And she will share all the information. But, if there's someone out there that would like for us to pray for you, please send us an email or leave a comment on the podcast or, Facebook, however, just please let us know. You don't have to give us your name, the situation or anything. Just, please pray for me. And we definitely will do that. Thank you very much. Also, one more thing before LJ completely closes us out. If you're listening to this podcast, or when you're listening to this podcast, you will see that there is a subscribe button. If you would hit that button, it would help to get this podcast out more. And the more subscribers there are, the higher up it goes in the listing when someone's trying to find information. And we're just trying to get the information out there, so it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It's just the more subscribers you have, the higher up the it goes in the listings, as if someone is actually searching YouTube for a particular topic. In this case, if they were searching for suicide, it would go higher up in the listing the more subscribers we have. Again, I want to thank you.
I'm so proud of my sister for taking the next steps of healing and sharing what she believes is the stigma around suicide. I agree 100%. Encourage her every step of the way. That being said, I have no problem in giving my real name as well. It is Jody. It is nice to formally announce our given names and share with you all our family dynamic and the real pain and hindsight that goes with sharing these stories and memories that are connected to a family suicide. Very brave, Rhonda. Thank you for stepping out. Stay tuned for next week on Hindsight Hurts for another special guest with a story to tell. As always, we encourage you to please comment, write in, share your stories, and you can remain anonymous if you so choose. Please let us know your thoughts, feelings, and any hindsights you may have. Visit us every Tuesday for a new release on YouTube at hindsighthurts.com. Email us at hindsighthurts@mail.com. We are also on Instagram. Our Facebook page is Hindsight Hurts, and we are also on Spotify. Thank you.